Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the episode, I need you to do the 3 S's for me. What is that? First of all, I need you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode of our podcast. Number 2, I need you to share it with your family and friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. Lastly, I need you to say something. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see from us, what you like, what you don't like. We are open to your suggestions. We want to know everything that you want to let us know about the podcast. All right. Now, get back to the episode. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast on all of your podcast listening platforms, as well as check out our podcast on our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Again, that's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, where you will find not only the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, which you are currently listening to or watching, but you will also find the Girl Dad Discussions podcast as well. And we have some other podcasts there as well also. But make sure, again, you're checking us out on our website, not our website, on our YouTube channel, the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, so that you guys don't miss any amazing episodes, right? So our product of the week, as you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way that we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase. And so our product of the week for this week is our official Deal to Heal shirt, which t-shirt, which says deal with the problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. If you guys are watching this, you can see it now. If you're not watching it, jump over to YouTube so you can see it, right? So it's the official Deal to Heal shirt, t-shirt that I wear every week pretty much. You see me with it on. Definitely is something that you can purchase, but you also can go to Deal to Heal Tees. That's Deal, the number 2, healtees.com to get your own t-shirt for our Deal to Heal shirt, as well as check out our other inspirational t-shirts that we also have there. So again, our product of the week is our official Deal to Heal t-shirt with our mantra, which is deal with the problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Make sure you guys go and check us out there, and we'll talk a little bit more about the inspirational t-shirt line a little bit later. But today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Miss Barb. How you doing?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm doing great. And our mission is same actually. It's very interesting because as you describe your mission, that's like how I describe my mission. So I'm happy
Great.
to be here.
Yes. So thank you for being here. I definitely appreciate you being here. Because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else. But you're here with me, and I definitely appreciate it, especially with our time difference. I actually, before we started recording, like what time was it where you are? You said 1 a.m. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I definitely appreciate you staying up just to talk to little old me. So again, thank you so very much for being here. So we're going to jump right into it, Barb. Do me a favor, introduce yourself. Tell us about a little about who you are and what it is that you do.
Hi, my name is Barb Smith, and I am trauma recovery specialist. I learned from my own experience and through a lot of study to deal with the trauma really, because I suffer with complex PTSD by myself and was told that nothing possible to do with that. And I also suffer with the chronic fatigue syndrome (ME), which I realized was caused by my complex PTSD. And doctors just told me that I need to learn to manage live with that, but you really cannot do that. So what I'm doing now is that I'm helping people to recover from childhood trauma, realizing what really happened to them. And because I'm a very analytical person, in my other life, I'm software engineer, I devised the process which actually really reverse engineering the trauma, and we can recover fully. And many people, which including me, are proof of it. So my mission is now to help people to realize that and help them to get to do this purposeful and happy life which we all can live if we know what we can do with our mind.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So Barb, let's jump into this thing, man. Let's first of all let's go back because you mentioned about you're learning from your own trauma experiences. So I want to go back. I always like to go back to our own stories, right? And how we came to the space where we are, even to have the heart to help others. It's usually from something that happens to us ourselves. And so let's go back to the early Barb before your experience, your own traumas. Who was Barb then, and how were you? How was your experiences? And then what was that thing, that traumatic experience that changed your life? And then that even later on made you say, you know what, I think I want to spend my life helping others now.
No, in my case, it was a lot of many things coming through my life. So I grew up in communism era in Czech Republic, but my parents were dissidents, so we were persecuted by regime. When I was 4, my mom had very severe accident, which kept her a very long time in hospital, and then her life was very painful and complicated. And but we wasn't allowed to move. I was watching my mom crawling on the stairs, but also lead to the living quite in poverty, which in that time I didn't realize. But when looking back, I realized that we really lived in quite severe poverty in that time. But my parents just tried their best to do that.
Mm,
Thanks to persecution and having the faith which wasn't allowed in that time, also we was excommunicated from the family. So like being alone and not having relationships or even have really toxic relationship with the grandparents. And it's all cumulated. Like it's a lot of things happening in child life. And we live in space which now would be classified as one bedroom flat, as 3 children and parents, you know. Um, and then I was developing a lot of illnesses since I was little, be on a lot of medication, really have the near-death experiences
mm,
thanks to allergies, then through surgery. And then my body just gave up, and I end up with the chronic fatigue syndrome. I was 17 years old and didn't finish the high school yet, even, and I started studying from home just somehow. And was told that I supposed to learn to live with that. But you cannot do that because chronic fatigue syndrome, it's not just about the total exhaustion. It's very
mm,
painful. You have headaches, you have sore joints, you have sore muscles. You don't know how you want to just sleep, but you when you're lying, it's painful. Your daily achievement is go to the toilet. And at 17 years old, and you're still like learn to live with that. And I said like you cannot learn to live with this. And then I was actually lucky because I found out a silver method of mind control, and then I new world completely opened to me about connection between mind and body, and I actually was able to get out of it. And the doctors was like, "Wow, how you did that?" And I was, and since then it's just put me on that journey of learning and healing and finding how to recover fully physically, but also mentally, and start more uncovering all these patterns we're creating. and also uncovering this myth about the trauma, um, and and start helping others. So now it's really my mission to help others because still so many people believe um, in the things which are not true about trauma. They don't have hope and living in pain. But pain is manifestation of the trauma. In autoimmune disorders are manifestation of trauma, and all these digestive issues,
Mm.
heart issues, skin problems. So people don't need to have them and can live actually happily and purposefully.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk a little bit about that because you mentioned how the trauma began to affect our bodies, physically, and one of the things that you we talked about a little bit before we started recording is that the physical manifestation of your illnesses or the trauma of your body that starts to affect you, openly, physically, should I say. And you mentioned about I guess it's called quantum healing. Tell us a
Mhm,
little bit about that, because that sounds it the name makes it sound like futuristic, but I think it's something that we deal with every day. Like even now, because one of the things I talk about is just like stress,
mhm,
how stress shows up in your body. And if you stress for too long, it starts to affect you, can lead to
mhm.
stroke and things of that nature. So tell us a little bit about the concept of the quantum healing.
We all have this experience by ourselves, is it? Because when you get too stressed, you will maybe get headache, is it? And people would say like, "Oh, I have a headache from it because it's like just too much of this happening." Or people feeling nauseous when they are stressed or they need to public speaking or something, and they would say like, and even they go and they would purchase it. That we all have it. Children will create the fever just like this when they are stressed out and they want parents' attention, and they would just become ill from out of nowhere. They would uh, have fever or they would be sick and stuff like that. And just mom kiss on the cheek will make them feel fine and everything is better. So our body reacting on what we think and how we feel, and the development of these long-term issues is actually from that gathering emotions. Like our body, it's not designed to hold that emotions in, but it's actually first things which we are now taught to do as children, to hold them in, suppress them, and we start feeling them. So it's starting with a headache, it's going through the having often what the children have the most often. It's a running nose, it's a cough, it's a sore throat. And then it's going lower and it's spreading through the body, and we start to be nauseous, we start to have issues with digestion, or it's coming on the skin in the teenage years. And if we keep going and we keep suppressing them, they just start manifesting, they start hardening in our body and start causing wide range of things like fibromyalgia, um, um, rheumatoid arthritis, all these things when the body just trying to get rid of it, and it's just start to be painful.
Yeah, 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 and that, like I said, that's something that we deal with. I'm sure we deal with every day. A lot of us,
Hmm.
in different areas in different parts of our lives. I wanna go to something that you mentioned. You mentioned about the myths about trauma, right? So
Hmm.
first of all, before we even go to the myths about trauma, in your words, what actually is trauma? Because I think that especially in this the healing space, we hear that a lot. We hear the term a lot. Trauma, childhood
Hmm.
trauma. But I don't think that everybody even knows exactly what trauma is and what it means. And after you hear it so much, it just starts to feel cliche. Excuse me.
Hmm.
So, in your own words, what actually is trauma?
From my understanding of trauma is that it's a reaction on what happened to us. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's not what happened to us, but the reaction we have on it. And that the reaction is developed since we are not even before we are born. We already reacting on the things. So we start uh, reacting in some way, protective way, because the first thing of is survive. So it's mind always going in the way how we will survive. and the children have very limited the way how they can survive. Yeah, so we commonly thinking about trauma responses as the flight and fight, but actually children cannot so much to do that. So they start learning the other ways, which is what I call it the rabbit syndrome. They start to do freeze and fawn. They try to people pleasing or just freezing and not reacting.
Mm.
And we supporting it because we giving children to dummies. But the you know what the real name of the dummy is? It's a pacifier. And it's mean that we're telling the children that your how you feel it's not important. And that's
Mm.
a trauma. And that's how all traumas actually working. So it actually really doesn't matter what happened to us, but it's about that we didn't process that emotions. They got stuck and we reacted in the way of somehow go through that situation, but we didn't deal with that situation.
Mm.
We just suppress it. We just uh, somehow go through it. We try to fight it. Children don't cannot really do that because they are very aware that the adults and everything around them is bigger and more dangerous. So they would try to somehow hide it and not express it. And what will happen when we start suppressing our emotions? We actually getting smaller. We start partitioning our mind and our the main power which will make us feeling safe, which is our inner strength, become locked inside of us instead of being around us and make us feel safe. So trauma is that we get stuck in survival mode. We switch on survival mode. We suppress our who we are. So many people don't know that, even they are adults, and everything become dangerous. Yeah, and it can be caused by anything. Yeah. So the first myth of the trauma is that it has to be big event, and
Yeah.
that's not true. Of course, I'm not saying that's not big events, and of course, and there is terrible things happening to the children and to the adults, and of course, the big events can cause the trauma. But when we're looking, the actually much more dangerous trauma are the small repeated. It's kind of like torture by thousand cuts. If that small repeating acts causing children to feel afraid every time and the child is feel afraid and it's not allowed to express it, then this means that they suppress their anger because the anger is protective emotion. We naming the anger as aggression, but anger is actually protector. It's
Mm.
uh, and we tell their children don't be angry. They don't because they don't fight with their parents because they are afraid that they will die without their support. Actually, subconsciously, and we just piling it in, holding it in. Yeah. And when we are not ourselves, when we are not expressing our power, when we are not feeling safe, then we have these subconscious reactions, and that's what we call trauma responses.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that you pointed out that it doesn't, although it can be a very big traumatic incident that happened to make you have a trauma response, but it doesn't have to be. It could be
Mhm.
something what others may consider small, in their eyes, but it can have a significant effect on you, right?
Yeah.
Recently, and I'll use myself as example. So since I was a kid, I've always loved turtles, right? And just love turtles. And so I bought two turtles, and I had two pet turtles, and I had these turtles for 10 years. And just recently, within the last couple of months, both of my turtles died. Maybe like within 3 months of each other. Like one passed, and
Mhm.
then not long after the other one passed. And while to some, like that's like okay, a pet dies. That's not necessarily significant, but for myself, that was very significant. Number one, because it was two pets that I always wanted, just like growing up, just like I said, for whatever reason, I don't even know why. I just always
Mhm.
had a love for turtles, right? And so when I was able to actually get my own turtles, I'm like, wow, I was very ecstatic about it. And like I said, I had them for 10 years. And so when they passed, I don't think I cried, but I definitely felt emotionally about it. And so again, it doesn't have to be something necessarily a big thing, for you to have a traumatic response from it. It could have been how they died or why they died that then
Mm,
triggered something within me, and then now I'm having a response from that. So, and I think also we have to get away from the comparing of
mm.
traumas. You know what I mean?
Yes,
It's like, oh,
absolutely.
you only what your dog died, and you know what I'm saying. Well, my sister died. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we're not comparing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Mm,
just the effect of my experience could be just as strong for me as your experiences for you, even though they're quite different. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. I think that's important for us to know and to recognize that there's no big or small. You know what I mean? There's no
yeah, no.
meter that says, okay, it got to be this painful for it to affect you some type of way.
Yeah.
It just on an individual basis.
To be told that there are a lot of people who would say that they had the happy childhood, but when they still manifesting issues. They would have anxiety, they would have maybe depression, they would struggle with the work or in relationships. And so when we start looking at that, we will find out that they did suffer from childhood trauma. They just didn't realize that because
Mhm.
we as humans have enormous ability to normalize what we call it. Like that where we are, like we said, like this is normal, so this should be happy. Yeah, child should be happy. I thought many times about my childhood that was happy, and then when I started looking at that, I saw like, yeah, my parents tried their best, but my needs wasn't fulfilled. So
Mhm.
it's many things. It's parents who are ill, divorce, bereavement in family, moving quite often, children of the military people because they're living in the fear that they will not come back, or those who working out of the home quite a long time, single parents, um, if it's there, of course, witnessing of anything of domestic violence or even shouting, uh, aggressivity, drinking, using drugs, poverty, living a limited access to the food,
Mhm.
and all these things. It could be school bullying, it could be also very things which could so positive, like overachieving, like trying to make your child best, but it's too much for them, or on other side, not attention of parents at all, and just have to figure out everything by themselves and be mature too soon. So the reasons why children are traumatized are actually very wide. And unfortunately, current statistics saying that almost 80% of population have the childhood trauma. So it's not doesn't have to be big. But the second myth of the trauma is also that it's not possible to recover. A lot of people believe that they get that label, they're trying to get be diagnosed, to be confirmed that they have trauma, and they're like, oh, that's for life. And unfortunately, still even many medical professionals like believe that it's not possible to recover. You need to learn to manage that. But the trauma response is coming from that subconscious level, so you cannot manage that because they're coming unannounced. So what you can actually do is that you can let them go out and you can get rid of it. You can actually switch it off, and that you can do on the subconscious level. And it's what I'm doing, but also many other people who using hypnotherapy and regression or NLP. We can switch it off, and everybody can switch it off by themselves. Actually, we're not doing it for them, we're just leading them to that they can do it by themselves. And that is a little thing what people can do. If anybody have these feelings, like you could have this bubbling feeling, and you don't know why you are angry. It's, people very underestimate, but that's one of the most common actually trauma responses, that you feel angry, that you feel frustrated, that you want to fight with other people, you want to split out on your partner or your children. That's actually that bubbling inside. I tell people just allow it. Go
Mhm.
for a run and run it, or go and use the punching bag and let it go out. Don't shout on your children. Don't shout at your partner. Uh, Go and let it out. And also, what everybody can do very easily, just close your eyes and feel where in your body you feel it, like where it is. Like most common is here, but can be belly, can be stomach, can be joints, anywhere. Your body will tell you. Like just ask your body where I store that anger from the past, And then just imagine that you open little doors like fairy doors, hobby doors, and just let it out. And your mind just one tool how to get it out. Because actually trauma responses and more stronger we have them, it's actually mean that our mind more strongly trying to resolve that trauma. Yeah. That's the paradox of trauma, that the stronger trauma responses doesn't mean that you are worse. It just mean that your mind is stronger and trying very hard to get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like what you said. One of the things that you mentioned about the punching bag or something like that. I think that if we could a lot of times take our trauma, that expression that needs to get out, and channel it in a way that's healthy, it'll definitely help us. When you start feeling some type of way, you do go punch that punching bag, or go for a walk, or go for a run, or lift weights, something that where you physically can get that aggression out. I think it'd be very, good for us. And also, I want to, just touch on one of the things that you said, and I think that when we talk about normalizing our trauma and just being like, that's life, a lot of times because of the trauma that we're dealing with, we don't recognize the things that need to be changed because it's just normal to us, and that's when we start hearing those comments like, this is just who I am, and that's, this is just my personality. It's like, yeah, but something's not right. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's normal and you've normalized it for yourself doesn't mean that there's not excuse me, something that needs to be addressed. And I think that's important for us to realize, so that we don't get so caught up in our everyday and just accepting ourselves as we
Mm,
are, and not really, like you said, it's because sometimes we don't even know that we've had some experience that is affecting us in a way that's causing us to carry ourselves or present ourselves in a certain way from a trauma that happened years ago, but we just didn't even
mm,
know we had it. And we just
mm,
think, hey, this is just part of my personality. Like, yeah, but there's a reason why you do that. There's a reason
mm,
why you react. There's a reason why you have these traumas that's showing up in your life, and you like, this is just normal to me. But someone on the outside is just like, yes, that's not normal. And so
yeah.
I think we need to, those definitely are some things that we need to address. And the last myth, that we I want us to address also, that you talk about, is that time frame, because a lot of time we think that when something happens to us, especially something traumatic that we recognize the effect of it right away, it's like, wow, this thing is going to be with me forever, and it seems like,
Mm,
just like a long time for our bodies to work through it, for our minds to work through it.
mm,
But one of the things that you said is that it doesn't necessarily have to take that long. With the right
mm.
coaching and guidance, you can actually work through it. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, a lot of people, if they don't believe that it has to be forever, they strongly believe it was hard, so it will be hard to get out of it. It's takes a long time, it's like a lot of effort, but it's not really true because it's like the effort if we're doing, I would say, the wrong way. If we're not actually addressing the trauma itself, if we're not addressing the cause of it, if we're just trying to learn to manage with that. Yeah. So when we understand that we have these parts of us, which I calling the five pillars of self, which is inner strength, self-love, intuition, wisdom, and purpose. And we are all born with them, these five pillars, but they are affected with the trauma. So our inner strength is shrinking, and when that's not working, then everything else is not working as should. So our intuitions is off balance. We don't feel safe. We don't reacting correctly. We're doing the wrong choices, as we say. Our self-love is not working. So we know what we should do, but we not really doing it, or we feel that nothing working for us. So we're not choosing what is really good for us, and our knowledge are not changing to the wisdom. And our purpose, sometimes we know what it is and we failing to do it because the things not working, or we don't even have idea what it is. And that means that we have no idea who we really are. But actually, when we go back, we go in to the mind and we put things back in place. We release that emotions and we find that it's just clicks and it's just start changing. And everybody who's doing it, what I hearing from people who experience this, that's like with me, they will say like, wow, that's like magic. Like I'm immediately feeling calm. I'm immediately reacting different way, you know. So it's usually take about the 3 months to really get to the fully out of it. And only people with like really like severe physical and sexual trauma and stuff like that, it can take longer. But mainly because we need to the steps are that we need to also learn who we are without trauma, and that's kind of the one last step of the journey. So the journey have the 4 steps, and it's how is it working? It's the four steps of recovery. The first is you need to be even recognize that we have the trauma, yeah,
Mhm.
and then we get awareness. Then we need to release it. We need to get it out of our body, out of our mind, and so we can get that absolution. And then is regret, and that is very underestimated part. It's a trauma grieving. Then we need to actually realize how much our life was affected by the trauma, and we start seeing it from completely different point of view. We will start seeing how our choices was the best in the time, even when we're regretting them now, or they hurt us, or we end up in toxic relationship or something like. But we choose it because how we were programmed by our trauma to do that, and we need to deal with that. And then we get into the last step, which is rediscovery and getting to that accession find out who we really are without trauma, living happy, healthy, and purposeful life.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I love
that
it.
doesn't take decades. It takes few months.
Yeah, yeah, and I love those 4 points. They because they remind me so much of our mission, and when I'm working with people through through our mission of dealing with the problem,
Mm,
heal from the pain and fulfilling the purpose. They like almost align exactly.
yeah,
I like what you said, and I want you to reiterate real quick those 5 pillars that you mentioned that we all have. But I because I think that is so powerful. So could you just reiterate those
yeah.
again?
So 5 pillars of self. It's inner strength. It's that power which protecting us, which are running us to do things on which we're running. And we feeling that should be, we call it inner strength, but it's actually in also outside of us. It's part of our aura. It's the part of the presence we have. It's part of that feeling strong, habit, strong posture and all that. It is. Then it's the self love, which telling us what we want, what is the good for us, what is our needs. And when we living in survival mode, we don't know what our needs. We just surviving. But what are real needs? What are needs for expression, for connection, for creativity, for spirituality? All our needs. Then it's intuition, which is the connection with our body and how we feel about things. And then we have these feelings like this is right for me, this is not. With this person, I don't want to have anything, or I love this person. Like I really can trust our choices and that feeling that we are connected to the space around us. Then is the wisdom, which is application of the knowledge, what is the best for us, and then it's going to also how we fit to the world, and we realizing the world is inside of us and see ourselves correctly in the world. Because when we living in survival mode, we not really see ourselves as the world see us. We underestimating of us. We say we are not good enough. We are not worthy. We are not valuable. But when we realize that we realize how clever we are and how crafty we are, how artistic we are, or how engineering we are, how handy we are. And what everything we actually able to do. And the last one, it's a purpose, and we all are born with that. We just need to find what
Yeah.
it is. Some people are knew it since they are little, and some need to find it out later. But again, purpose, sometimes people underestimate and think that it is to be something big and something, powerful and meaningful. But actually, most meaningful job in the world is the being man, because we all need the trash be taken out so we can live healthy. and are people who actually love and they feel purposeful to be men, or people who are bakers and making food and
Mm.
farmers. It doesn't have to be that you need to be author or therapist or manager or something. Purpose is something which giving community, what we giving to community, and we feel satisfied from it.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I think that's important that we all, just even listening to you as you begin to say that, um, it aligns with personal development, right? To really getting to know yourself. I've been on my own journey within the last 5 or so years now, really diving into who am I, and what are the things I love, what are the things I like, how do I show up in spaces, and why do I show up in those spaces that way. And I think that everybody needs to take that time to go on that journey of personal development, to really find who they are, the essence of them, outside of, outside world pressures and influences. Like who am
Mm.
I to myself? Who am I in my heart? And how do I show up in the world? And I think that's so amazing. Um, Barb, I thank you so much for being on and for coming on. I want you to uh, leave us with a word of advice or information, however you feel, and also leave us with um, some your words of advice or inspiration, however you feel in that way. But also leave us with your contact information, social media information, where we can find you, and how we can work with you. And I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure that you guys are checking us out on our official website, which is the Deal Heal fulfill.org. Again, that's fulfill.org. Hopefully we're going to get a facelift on our work on our website soon. But as of right now, it's still up and active. You can go to dealhealfulfill.org to find out more about the things that we have going on as a organization. Also, make sure you guys check me out on my personal website, or should I say my speaker's website, which is ernestjamesspeakslife.com. Again, that's ernestjamesspeakslife.com to find out how you can have me to come out to be a speaker or to lead a workshop for your school or organization. Again, that's ernestjamesspeakslife.com. Make sure you guys are checking me out there. Ebooks by ejames.com. That is our website where we have our ebooks that I've written. One of the ebooks that's doing very well right now is Forgiving Me, the 4-Step Guide to Self Forgiveness. That ebook is doing very well right now. You guys can go to ebooks by ejames.com to check out that ebook, as well as some of the other ebooks that we have available. Also, while you're there, if you really excuse me, if you really like the ebooks, you can also join our affiliate program and earn 50% of profit whenever someone buys an ebook using your special code. So again, go to ebooks by ejames.com to check out our ebooks and sign up to be an affiliate as well. Also, we talked a little bit earlier about our inspirational t-shirt line, Deal to Heal Tees. That's deal, the number two, healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Make sure you guys go there and check out our inspirational tees, as well as our podcast merch. We have a t-shirt with our logos on it, one with the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast logo, and one with the Girl Dad Discussions podcast logo as well, which you guys can see here. And again, if you're listening to this podcast, jump over to YouTube so you can see what we're talking about. You can see our beautiful faces, right? So again, make sure you guys go check us out on our inspirational t-shirt line. That's Deal, the number two, healtees.com, Deal to healtees.com. Make sure you guys are checking us out there. Last but not least, over the last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops bi-monthly speaking on everything surrounding forgiveness, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, just everything surrounding forgiveness, because we believe that forgiveness is a lost art that we have, that we need to reintroduce to our world, and really just being able to forgive and love each other once again. So whenever you're listening to this podcast, either one is coming up or one just ended, they're absolutely free, but the information is priceless. Again, go to forgivenessmission.com to sign up for our next free virtual workshop. Or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop, sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission. And also make sure you guys tap in with us, because we do in-person events. And coming into this new year recently, we're looking to do a lot more in-person events, and even to travel to some different cities in order to have forgiveness events there. So make sure you guys, again, go to forgivenessmission.com to stay locked in with us, and even volunteer and help us. We're always looking for help to push our mission even forward. So again, that's forgivenessmission.com, forgivenessmission.com. Make sure you guys go and check us out there. Barb, once again, I want to say thank you so very much for being here, for sharing your expertise and your experience with us. I definitely appreciate it. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
So on the closing, I would encourage everybody to look for healing. That is possible to heal. So if you struggle in any way in your life, if you have the pain, if you have the illness, if you struggle in relationship, if you want to help your children because you see that they struggle, go and heal yourself. Then you can be healthy, purposeful. And you can start every day. Just breathe through it. Just let that emotions going out. Stop suppressing them and allow yourself to feel what you feel. You have right to feel that. But quite often you feel something which is from the past. And if you let it go out, you will realize that presence is much calmer and you can more focus and you can go forward. So if it's about to find the time, or if it's find the energy, or if it's find the funding, invest that to your healing. Is definitely worthy, and we all can create a much better humanity if we will all healing from our past trauma, and it is possible. And if you want to hear more from me, or speak with me, you can find me on the Facebook as the Barb Smith, or on my website, which is your-steps.co.uk.
All right, and we can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, and I know you enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast, I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.